The movie begins by taking us back 30 years, revealing a series of murders committed by a cunning serial killer. His methods were so meticulous that the police mistook each death for an accident, leading to the closure of the case. Our story unfolds in a small South Korean town where we meet Sim, a solitary landlord. Sim manages numerous properties, relying on the rental income for his livelihood. However, some tenants, including Mr. Choi, are habitually late with their payments. Sim confronts Mr. Choi at his apartment, demanding the overdue rent in front of a charity worker. Mr. Choi explains his inability to pay due to a prolonged illness that prevented him from working. Unmoved by Choi's predicament, Sim suggests he borrow money from his son in America. It becomes clear that Sim is an ill-mannered and miserly individual. The charity worker, witnessing Sim's harsh behavior, intervenes, reminding him that he cannot harass tenants. Sim retorts that she's welcome to pay the rent herself if she feels so strongly about it. On their way, they encounter a crime scene where the body of an elderly man named Meng-suk lies lifeless. Sim callously remarks that people should die at home instead of inconveniencing others and affecting property values. His gaze then falls upon Shaun, a young woman residing in apartment 205, who also happens to be behind on rent, mirroring Mr. Choi's situation. Later, Sim encounters Pyong-dao, a man who lost his house keys and requests a duplicate. After providing the key, Sim heads to a restaurant owned by Min, a woman he secretly admires. He frequents her establishment, partly because he owns the building and she's his tenant, but mostly because he harbors unrequited feelings for her. Min uses the example of Dr. Nong, a regular customer, to illustrate love and devotion. Dr. Nong is deeply devoted to his paralyzed wife and often dines with her at the restaurant. Sim, however, has a cynical perspective. He believes Dr. Nahong's life is ruined, trapped by his wife's condition. He suggests it would be better if she simply passed away. Amidst this seemingly light-hearted banter, the story shifts to another part of town where the decomposing body of an elderly man, Jasu, is discovered. The state of the body suggests it has been there for a considerable time, attracting insects and emitting a foul odor. Officer Lee, unable to access the locked apartment, summons Sim to unlock the door and retrieve the body. Officer Lee reveals that Jasu had likely been dead for days and that regular visits from relatives could have prevented this tragic outcome. Sim, unfazed, comments that Jasu's death is a good thing, as he was a nuisance to others, implying that the world is better off without him. However, Officer Lee's words trigger a flicker of concern in Sim. Mr. Choi, like Jasu, lives alone. Worried that Choi might die before paying his rent, Sim visits his apartment. He discovers the lock is broken and is shocked to find a lavish spread of food inside. He accuses Choi of prioritizing food over rent, but Choi explains that he was expecting a co-worker and prepared the meal for him. Sim learns that Choi was once a dedicated police officer who spent his life chasing a notorious serial killer. Choi possesses extensive research on the killer, who targeted elderly individuals 30 years ago before shifting his focus to young women. However, Choi lacked concrete evidence, as the killer's methods were so clean they appeared accidental. Choi reveals that he's noticed a disturbing pattern recently. Jasu and Meng-suk, who used to dine with him at the church, vanished and were later found dead. Another elderly man, Mr. Han, has also gone missing. Sim dismisses Choi's concerns, urging him to focus on his recovery and paying the rent. He also jokingly asks Choi to check on him twice a day, as he doesn't want to end up like Jasu. It's evident that Sim, despite his gruff exterior, is worried about his own safety. Unbeknownst to them, someone is watching Sion. Back in her apartment, Sion confides in her roommate about her financial struggles and the need to send money home to her family. Sim overhears their conversation. It's revealed that Sim isn't as heartless as he appears. He pretends to be callous to protect himself from a cruel world. Later that night, Mr. Choi becomes the latest victim of the serial killer. The following day, when Sim arrives to fix Choi's door lock, he discovers the body, staged to look like a suicide. The charity worker accuses Sim of driving Choi to suicide through his relentless harassment. The town turns against Sim, convinced of his guilt. Sion, however, believes in Sim's innocence and Mr. Choi's inability to commit suicide. She assures Sim that she'll pay her rent soon and leave. Determined to uncover the truth, Sim visits Choi's apartment but is attacked by Park, Choi's former police partner. Park reveals that Choi was eagerly awaiting his arrival the previous night. He shows Sim Choi's passport and explains that Choi was about to visit his son in America. He was happy and had no reason to take his own life. They conclude that Choi was murdered and the scene was staged as a suicide. Sim, skeptical, dismisses Park's claims, thinking he's delusional. That night, Sion's roommate, Ji Hyun, is murdered by the serial killer, who then kidnaps Sion. Sim notices a disturbance in Sion's apartment, but dismisses it, choosing sleep over investigation. The next day, Park relentlessly tries to enlist Sim's help in catching the serial killer, but Sim is reluctant to get involved. They encounter a group of young men trying to break into Sion's apartment. Park learns that they're Ji Hyun's friends, worried because she hasn't been answering her phone. Park and Sim enter the apartment and discover Ji Hyun's severed head in the refrigerator. Sim tries to call the police, but Park stops him. He argues that the killer spared Sion and that they need to work together to find her before the police complicate matters. Sim, concerned for Sion's safety, agrees. Park recounts the horrors of the serial killer's past crimes, emphasizing his dangerous nature. He reveals that Min was once a victim but managed to escape. She has blocked out the traumatic memories, but Park believes that triggering her memories might provide clues. Sim, however, is hesitant, as he doesn't want to cause Min further pain. A flashback reveals Park's own traumatic experience with the serial killer. He witnessed the killer stabbing his partner while Choi, paralyzed by fear, remained hidden in the car. Park's desperate cries for help went unanswered. He vividly remembers the killer's eyes and believes he could identify him even if he wore a mask. Park attempts to question Min about the killer, but Sim intervenes. Park's attention is then drawn to Dr. Nong and his wife. He becomes convinced that Dr. Nong is the serial killer, citing his seemingly perfect facade as a common trait among such individuals. Sim dismisses his claim, but Park argues that killers often use their families as shields while committing heinous acts in secret. Park confronts Dr. Nong, discussing the serial killer and past crimes. Dr. Nong becomes visibly unnerved. His reaction confirms Park's suspicions, but Dr. Nahong's wife suddenly falls ill, forcing him to leave. Sim and Park follow him, with Park sending Sim to Dr. Nahong's house. Meanwhile, the serial killer is injecting Sion with a mysterious drug, the purpose of which will be revealed later. Officer Lee grows suspicious of Sim due to his frequent altercations and his unique profession as a locksmith. He theorizes that Sim might have killed Jasu and Choi, given his negative opinions about them and his ability to access their apartments. Dr. Nahong's house reveals a secret room behind a mysterious door. Before Sim can break it down, Dr. Nong stops him, promising not to report him to the police if he leaves. Sim finds this behavior suspicious. Just then, Park arrives, holding Dr. Nong at gunpoint, and forces him into the secret room. They discover a hidden opium farm. Dr. Nong pleads with them not to inform the police, claiming he's cultivating the plants to create medicine for his wife. Park, frustrated by Sion's disappearance, notices a mask lying nearby. He gives it to Dr. Nong and demands he wear it. As Dr. Nong puts on the mask, Park recognizes the killer's eyes. Sim tries to intervene, revealing that the gun is fake and that Park suffers from Alzheimer's and recently escaped from the hospital. Sim apologizes to Dr. Nong and decides not to report the opium farm. Park, however, continues to insist that Dr. Nong is the serial killer. After Park leaves, Sim attempts to return to his normal life, but remains worried about Sion. He revisits Choi's investigation files and remembers Choi mentioning Mr. Han's disappearance. Sim investigates Mr. Han's house and discovers his body along with a piece of fabric near his dog. Sim recognizes the fabric as belonging to Pyong Dao's pants, which he had noticed were torn by an animal bite. He realizes that Pyong Dao is the killer. Officer Lee arrives and arrests Sim based on circumstantial evidence, but Sim convinces him of Pyong Dao's guilt. They rush to Pyongdal's workplace at the train station, but he manages to escape. However, his escape is short-lived as he dies in a car accident. News of the serial killer's death spreads through the town, and Sim is hailed as a hero. Min, initially terrified by the news, is relieved. However, it's revealed that Sion is still alive and under the control of the real serial killer, Dr. Nong. Sim informs the police that the recently deceased Pyongdal couldn't have committed the murders from 30 years ago. He realizes there are two serial killers and that Min might hold the key to identifying the other one. He convinces Min to revisit her suppressed memories. She recalls the killer having 6 fingers on one hand and behaving like a doctor. Sim immediately suspects Dr. Nong and visits his clinic. During a checkup, he confirms that Dr. Nong had surgically removed one of his fingers. Dr. Nong, realizing that Min has revealed his secret, drugs Sim and takes him to Sion, who he has imprisoned in the same hidden room where Park and Sim were previously held. Dr. Nong reveals that he's been injecting Sion with opium-based drugs that will eventually paralyze her. He plans to take her away and make her his new wife, just like his first wife, who was also one of his victims. Through flashbacks, we learn that Pyongdal encountered Dr. Nong 30 years ago when he went to kidnap Sion. Pyongdal was inspired by Dr. Nahong's methods, targeting the elderly first and then moving on to young women. However, seeing Dr. Nong in person terrified him, and he fled. Dr. Nong killed Pyongdal to prevent him from revealing his identity to the police. After revealing his motives, Dr. Nong prepares to kill his current wife. Park, having escaped from the hospital once again, appears and confronts Dr. Nong at gunpoint. Dr. Nong initially dismisses him, but Park reveals that he has a real gun this time, stolen from his police officer's son. Park, despite being labeled as insane, has single-handedly solved the 30-year-old case. A struggle ensues, and Sim manages to escape with Sion. Dr. Nong attempts to kill Park after murdering his wife, but Sim and Park manage to overpower him. Sim expects Park to kill Dr. Nong, but Park, surprisingly, spares his life. The news of the capture of the real serial killer spreads throughout South Korea. Dr. Nahong's crimes are exposed, and he becomes a pariah. In the end, Sion recovers and visits Sim. Min openly displays her affection for Sim, and the movie concludes on a bittersweet note.